Welcome to On the Couch with Caroline, where we'll be finding out what makes people be the impossible. Please enjoy the episode. Hello and welcome everyone to Be the Impossible episode On the Couch with Caroline. And I am here today with the absolutely amazing Alex. Hi, Alex. It's fantastic to have you here.
Hi, Caroline. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone who is watching us live and who is watching the replay. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah. So today we're going to get behind the nitty-gritty scenes of Alex's life and what made her choose to do the impossible, to be the impossible. What's inspired her? What makes her tick? And maybe you can get some inspirational ideas from Alex, and I'm sure you will, on how you can implement those in your own life. But before we start, I'm just going to give a little bit of a rundown on what Alex does, just so you get to know her a little bit better before we start. So Alex is a confidence and business success mentor. She is the host of the Confidence Rockstar podcast, which I have been very lucky to be on as well. She helps ambitious female entrepreneurs who struggle with the confidence to thrive in the online business and to get consistent flow of clients, which is something, I know lots of women struggle with in that field. A couple of years ago, she had her whole life turned upside down when she walked out of the hospital in July 2019 with no job, no business, her income was zero, and her self-confidence was non-existent. She went from hitting rock bottom to moving to Spain, which I hear was a dream come true, rebranding her business and creating the lifestyle she can work from anywhere in the world. She uses her signature Webinar Rockstar Formula method to help clients triple their income goals with the power of virtual events. And even if you've never hosted a webinar before, you can do this. So if you're a coach, a consultant, service-based entrepreneur, and you want to fill your programs and your calendars with ease, then Alex makes things simple, and she'll save you years of trial and error because she's been through it herself. So I'm sure listening to Alex today, you're going to get a few little tips and tricks. But I think for me, one of the most important things about women in business and entrepreneurs is getting to know who they are and their story. So, Alex, that's quite a story there and quite a transformation. If I was to ask you this question, who is Alex? What would you respond?
That's a very good question. Well, Alex is Alex. I'm originally from Poland, used to live in different countries in Ireland, in UK, and then moved to Spain. So actually, since I was a little girl, I was like a traveler. I loved traveling. I was always on stage, actually, since very early ages. I was dancing and singing and performing all over Europe. So that was like kind of me. At the moment, I'm just looking at like the whole circle. Yeah. Like being on stage was always in my DNA. I was performing in front of my family since the age of 3, whether they liked it or not. I love perform. That. And if they were not clapping, even if one person was not clapping, I started all over again. So that was me. And yes, and, traveling and learning and growing. So basically, I do believe that, my business at the moment is like podcast is Confidence Rockstar, business Rockstar, Webinar Rockstar Formula. So yes, this is like, I would say this rock star. Yes, Alex is a rock star. And
absolutely.
She started like that as a young girl. Then she was getting better. Then there were a lot of turbulences in her life. But she lost her voice, her confidence, and her ground for a while. But she came back. She arose from the ashes, and she's back. So I would answer this question this way.
Yeah. So for the women out there who are listening, what do you think was like maybe the defining moment or the biggest factor in losing your confidence?
Well, it's interesting because very often since I started my personal development journey and I was listening to different mentors, reading stories, some of those stories were so powerful. I mean, people went through traumas in their childhood with the family, they had like divorces, losses of their loved ones. And I mean, so many different things. And I always, when I was listening to the stories, I'm like, oh my God, I have a very good life. And I felt very blessed. And I kind of always said, I don't have a story like that, that something wrong kind of happened. And I don't know if it was by the law of attraction or what, that I don't have a story. Then life decided to give me the story. And within honestly, a year, I got hit once and the second time, and then again and again. And every single time when I was feeling that I'm picking myself up, I got another hit. And I was like, what is this going on? I didn't connect it back then that was the story. But, just in a nutshell, within 6 months, I was kicked out of 2 jobs because I was still working in the jobs. And even though I've never been fired in my life, I was always employee of the year. And, I was just kicked out in a very nasty way within 6 months from 2 jobs. And I was like, what is this? Yes, even though I didn't do anything wrong, it kind of shakes your confidence. Yeah, especially when somebody tells you blunt in your face, you are leaving now, we will get a taxi to take you home. Yeah, wow. And you're like, am I a criminal or what's going on here? So that was the first kind of shaky moment. Then I actually, after the second let go from my job in the morning, in the afternoon, I went through the traumatic miscarriage of my second child that we've been trying with my husband for over a year. And it was devastating. And at the same time, I was building my business on the side. At that time, I had an online business called Active Happy Mama, because I was running. I was always very active, and I was empowering moms to have healthy and active lifestyle. And I completed my first ever marathon when my son was 7 months, and Tough Mudder obstacles race, and all these crazy things I was doing, running with Buggy and inspiring others. Yeah. And at that time, after losing the child, I didn't feel happy mama. Even the word mama made me feel crying. Did a trigger. And on top of that, sorry. Triggered those emotions. Exactly. Yeah. And on top of that, if that wasn't enough, I got the diagnosis that something was wrong with my hip, and I had to walk with crutches, and I would probably never be able to run and have active lifestyle again. So I was like, okay, I definitely didn't feel active, happy mama at that time. So with all this, I also couldn't continue with my business. So, the money that I started earning there was gone because I just couldn't do it. So no job, no business, no income. I felt not worthy as a woman, as a mother, as a person. So basically, from every single angle, everything was falling apart. I always kind of joke that, the only thing missing was a divorce at that time, but fortunately my husband is amazing and he's been there for me. But that was just a nail in the coffin, I think. Yes, because health, business, money, I mean, and at that time I kind of felt that it was not really that much about the money or whatever. I just kind of felt that I lost my identity. Yeah, because when they put me to walk with crutches in 3 months and told me that I would have to have the hip endoprothesis before the age of 40, I was like, me? Always a dancer, a fitness instructor, personal trainer, runner, marathoner. And I'm like, it didn't just kind of, add up. So that was the most defined, for some people, if they told you that, you couldn't run, it would be not a big deal. But I'm sure for you, Caroline, you understand. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I think you touched on something really important there is identity, because I know even for me, when you become a mum as well, a lot of mums out there listening feel like they lose their identity as well once they have a child. And we often associate our identity with things outside of us as well, whether it be a job, whether it be our financial status, and then we compare our identity to everyone else's identity. So it's not uncommon, and it's understandable when we have this way of thinking that women like yourself and like myself at certain points just lose confidence and feel like
nothing we do is good enough to achieve. But when you look at that now, how much of that do you say was reality, and how much was your perception of what was happening?
That's a very, very good question. Yes. I mean, at the moment, I look at all of this as a blessing, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
As, Steve Jobs said that we cannot connect the dots looking forward. We can only connect them looking backward. And I still, at that time, I didn't understand what is going on and why. But I heard Tony Robbins say, he said, like, life doesn't happen to you. Life happens for you.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, okay. So, in all of that, I had amazing support from my family and, from my loved ones. So, I'm so grateful for that I also had the time to step back. I didn't have to find a job or go to work tomorrow, because they kind of told me, okay, right now is the healing time. So it was great. But you know what, at the moment, I still don't understand everything, why it happened. But out of that time, the most amazing things happened and were created when I was literally walking out from the hospital, because I also, after the miscarriage, 6 months later, I had the ectopic pregnancy. So I was in a hospital again, and I was like, you know what, at that time I just said, I just surrender. I just have enough. Yeah. I just don't want to know anything, why it's happening. And I honestly walked out in July 2019, had nothing. And I just had to start over. But I really went inside, and I started working on myself and rebuilding this identity, how I saw myself. Yeah. And then I started getting the inspired ideas, what I can do with my life and how I can move forward. So, to be quite honest, they always say that everything happens for a reason. And to be quite fair, I didn't like the job where I was in, but it was just still being there because I was building my business. So until I make enough money in the business, I will stay there. And I was hesitant. I kind of set myself a deadline, and then it was extended. So basically, because I couldn't make up the decision, somebody decided for me, and they kicked me out.
Yeah, and I say that I always use the phrase, we don't get what we want, we get what we need.
Yes.
When things like that happen, because otherwise you wouldn't, and a lot of entrepreneurs, as a business coach, I have a lot of entrepreneurs who well, when do I leave my job? How long do I keep doing my job and have the side hustle? And I go, look, Joe, in a realistic way, at the start, you need income. You still need to live, and you need to be not stressed about that. But there will come a point where you're going to have to choose, and you're going to have to take that leap of faith that this is the business you're passionate about, and this is the business that you want to be in. Otherwise, you'll stay in the comfort of the job. Mm-hmm. And because your business won't grow, because you're not allowing it to, you'll then go, oh, I was never good enough for that anyway. So, taking those risks. So what would you say has had who or what has the biggest influence on you now?
Now? I do work with, excuse me, I do work with a couple of mentors at the moment, but generally over the years. And I think that helped me, when you can relate to that, Caroline, and people who are listening, when you get into the journey of personal development, start listening to amazing people, reading books, going through trainings, and you start being surrounded by like-minded people, you like it oh my God, why nobody told me that before? Yeah. I remember, the first person who I came across actually was Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And then when I read this book, I was happy and angry at the same time, because I was okay, I found out this, but why nobody told me that before? Yes. Why we are programmed so differently. And also, my family is amazing, but I'm from the family where everyone is and has always been in a job. And that was me, like, go to school, get a job, get a pension, and you will live, kids, husband, whatever, and, happily ever after. But, that's not the case anymore. When they kicked me out from the job, it's like no security anymore.
No, and jobs today don't have that security that they used to have either. Even now.
Exactly. Yeah. My grandmother, I remember, I think she was working in one job for like entire life. Yes. Or my grandfather. So that's how it used to be. And, my parents, they had like few, and, of course I had more, but that was like a big kind of influence first, like, the whole kind of Kiyosaki's philosophy. Then I came across Tony Robbins, T. Harv Eker, all these people, and I was blessed enough, like, to learn from them. And at the moment I'm really into, I love them all still. Yes. And at the moment I'm like following very much like Bob Proctor's teachings, because like he passed away last year. And you know what, like one thing I do believe is like strategy. We are learning about the strategy when it comes to the business, but we cannot forget about the mindset and also like the energy around it. So I also surround myself with like some mentors and people who can help me like with that. So the mindset and energy, because the strategy, just pushing hard, it doesn't work when this one is not straight and when this one is not right.
And I was just talking to someone about that today. It came up in conversation, talking about I really can't stand the word hustle. Mm-hmm. To me, it has so much negative connotation of just push without doing all the inner work, without having the positive acceptance and everything like that. So yeah, I'm the same. I think it's, for me, any journey in life and business is a holistic approach. It's about yours, but ultimately you're at the center of your universe. And if you want your universe to flower and grow, then you need to start with you as well.
When we were talking, like, when you were my guest in my podcast, like Confidence Rockstar, we were talking about it, yes, that the success comes from within. And it's so true, because a lot of people, like, look for the external evidence of their worth. And like, for me, when you asked me about like, what was the perception, what was the fact? So, at that time, they were like different facts that they were kind of devastating. But we know that facts are never devastating. The meaning we give to the facts makes it devastating or not. But, I kind of realized later that, well, it doesn't matter if I have a job or income or business or child or I walk with crutches or not. It doesn't really change who I am. Yes. No. If I'm running or if I'm not running, this is still kind of me. But I had to go inside to accept it and to understand it from inside. And of course, I still wanted to run. I still wanted to do that. But when I accepted myself, who I was back then I could find a solution, not from like pushing, I hated the situation, but from the different perspective.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that acceptance, I always come back to, sometimes to move forward, it takes acceptance of the position we're in first before we can move forward on that. So, just a little question. If you could change anything about the world, what would it be?
You know what? I think at the moment, what I would say that people are just more loving and compassionate in general. Because when I look at people, I look at them like, with the intention that everybody has like good inside them. And, people, of course, make mistakes. I do make mistakes as well, but I don't come to people with like hate, etc. And, I work online and there's like so much negative energy out there and so much hate. And I don't understand this, because why? Well, first of all, I do believe that these people are bored, because I wouldn't have the time to put like so many negative comments.
No. Well, and you know what? Interesting you say that, bored, or I think some people then associate their identity with that persona they have online.
Okay.
As well.
So, basically when I look at, sometimes when I look at people who are, the best in sport, the best in politics, whatever, etc. And, I don't know them personally that much, but they are not on top because they were just sitting on a couch and doing nothing. And I mean, just out of respect that they worked hard, a lot of blood and tears and sweat is behind the scenes. Just leave them alone. If you don't like them, just unfollow, whatever, but don't hate them. Don't send like so much negative energy. I just don't get it why people do that. And so basically what I would like to change in the world is that we are more loving, we are more supportive, we are more helpful, we are more into collaboration and love.
Totally agree. And I think, I look at that and I go, people, generally speaking, people are angry and upset and aggressive when they're hurting. So it's almost like, the world needs to be healed so that they can be kind and generous of spirit. But, when people are in fear or struggling, and I guess, COVID brought out I was going to say the best in some people and the word. No, it just brought out the worst mostly, but you get, a lot of people were in stress. But I guess for me, it's why then I like to associate with people who bring the kindness, bring the compassion, so that together because you can influence people with that. I know cranky people who, if you don't get caught up in their world, they actually almost have to be happy of a certain level, or at least content. It's hard to continually be cranky at someone who's being nice to you.
Yeah. It's like different vibration as well. Yes. I mean, like the energy of love, of gratitude, of being like nice is like higher, and the anger and sadness and hate is lower. So actually always like the higher energy wins.
Yes.
So
yeah, absolutely. So do you have a daily routine that you never miss?
I do. Yes. I never miss. It's almost the same every day, but a little bit different. So when I wake up, I do some visualizations, meditations, or some mantras, or this kind of mental energy work. Then I do my fitness routine. So I either go on the bike, or I run, or I do some kind of exercises. And when I actually run or go on the bike, I put my one headphone in, because I need to know what's going on.
Listen for cars.
Yes, exactly. And I'm listening to either my mentors or some training or some programs that, to set me up for the day. So I do not turn on my phone. I mean, I do not check my emails. I do not go to social media. No. I turn on my phone because I need to, for example, connect to YouTube to my meditation or something. But I do not respond to the world before I look after myself. So so it's like mental energy and like physical work first, and then I am ready to crack on with the day.
So for anyone out there listening, what would you say that routine gives you for the rest of the day?
Yeah, that's exactly, what I'm saying. It sets me up for the day, that, I set my mind, my intentions, how I would like the day to go, and who am I? I am, working on myself, programming myself. I'm stepping into the identity of Alex that, I want to be today. So then when I'm working either with my clients, or I prepare my webinars, my programs, or sending emails, whatever, I'm in this energy that I want to be. Not like the first thing in the morning, I get an email, which annoys me, and then I'm like,
cranky for the rest of the day.
Right?
Yeah, totally.
Yes.
And I'm like that with my morning exercise routine, but then my coffee at the beach. It's like I just need to see the beach and the ocean, and then go, okay, nothing can happen for the rest of the day that's going to be that bad, because I already have my cup filled, and so it takes a lot more to upset me. What makes you laugh? Are you do you like comedy, cat videos?
Yes, I mean, I do like comedies, definitely, and all the crazy kind of videos, but I don't like stupid videos, like stupid. I like something that is funny, and yes, and anything which is like either watching or reading or listening, which is funny. And, my son makes me laugh as well, seeing him grow. He's 7 at the moment. So I love watching him. And when he's happy and he's kind of, it's funny because we are Polish both together with my husband. So at home we speak Polish. He goes to English school, but he also speaks Spanish. So very often in one sentence, there are like 3 languages. Yes, sometimes, he mixes. So that is funny when he explains something about school. He explains to us very often in English because he learns in English. So he doesn't, well, he knows Polish, of course, and he can speak, but about the fact that what he was learning today, it is in English. Yes. So it's like Polish, English, Spanish a little bit. So it makes me laugh when he's like that. And what makes me laugh or I'm touched. I actually love seeing on social media or somewhere when people are happy, when somebody is engaged, when somebody has a baby, when somebody won a lottery, when somebody got a dream house, when people are saying, oh my God, you have to talk about it. I'm actually happy. I'm sending them love. We need more of this rather than this hate. So I'm very happy when I see other people happy. My family, my friends, when anybody is happy, when they succeed, I love it.
Yeah, I agree. Like, there's no greater joy to me than seeing other people happy. But also like kids, I think, like, 'cause I think we discussed in our podcast that, I never wanted to be a mother. But I would say one of the greatest gifts that being a mother gave me was it allowed me to see the world again through the eyes of a child. And I love kids, especially around that 5-7 age group when they're, they'll say anything, that there's no such thing as political correctness. But at the same time, they're very kind and gentle. Even if it comes across as a criticism, it's done with love. But they're so honest and they appreciate the world with this beauty and innocence. And I think we lose that as adults. And we stop having fun and we stop seeing the world as a fun place. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, definitely love that.
True.
Which of your life achievements means the most to you?
Few. Yeah, so the first one will be like becoming a mother, especially because with the first child it wasn't also like so easy.
Yep.
So I know it sounds cliche, but a lot of people say that until you become a mother, you will never understand your mother. And our mothers, they kept annoying us or whatever when we were children. But actually, the moment we become a mother, we're like, okay, now I understand. And it's like, I'm sorry, mom. Yes, that I was naughty girl. So definitely becoming a mother helped me look at myself and like the world differently. At the same time, I had a little bit at the beginning of this, as you said, like lost identity, because everything was changed and I was kind of alone because, my family came to London for like a couple of weeks, then everybody was gone. My husband at that time came back to work and I was alone and I was like, breastfeeding, nappy changing, breastfeeding, nappy changing, breastfeeding, nappy changing, washing, whatever, breastfeeding, nappy changing. And I was like, is that going to be my life, forever right now? So it was like that. But no, I'm like, so happy. And, I'm learning every day, of course, as we all do as a mother. You always kind of have it at the top of your head. Am I doing everything correct? Yes.
Absolutely. And I don't think, I just had my mother here earlier and she's 80. And we're talking about my son's in Europe at the moment, but lost his wallet, lost his phone. Anyway. We were discussing that, but then, I go, I can't get mad at him because I do remember me ringing you, Mum, my mum, when I was stuck overseas and she didn't hear from me for months and then I lost my passport and all sorts of things. I said, nothing changes and we don't know the rules and we make it up as we go along because no one teaches us. Yeah. Even at 53, I'm sure I still do things that annoy my mother.
Probably, yes.
Or she's still learning how to be a parent at 80. So it never stops. And I think, like, again, around acceptance, having acceptance that no one has it worked out. So that's okay when we don't do it correct, or we don't do it, you know, the best way the first time, as long as we're learning.
Absolutely. So coming back to these achievements, I would say like, I think a couple of more, because like I touched on it already, but when my son turned like 7 months, I completed my first ever marathon, London Marathon.
Yes.
And I started like training when he was 3 months, which I still don't know how I did it, like alongside breastfeeding and during sleepless nights. I mean, crazy cold, windy London. But, you know, going through that finish line, well, you know, you run marathons, you know that, but
I've only done one. I've only done one marathon.
Well, you do triathlons, yes, which is even level higher.
Yeah, but I get to swap. I get to swap what I'm doing. It's not quite as difficult.
But, you know, after this 42 kilometers, it's already like, you know, challenging for anybody. But like for me at that time when, you know, my son, oh my God, after all those months, I was crying. I remember in front of the Buckingham Palace when I crossed that finish line. So that was like amazing achievement for me. And I would say like, you know, one more after all of these turbulences in my life, like a couple of years ago, when I kind of rebuilt my life, I mean, rebuilt my confidence. I started like completely different business. We were able to move to Spain, and we are living in wonderful country of Spain when the weather is beautiful, as you know, at your end, and being able to like, you know, help women globally thrive in online business. So that I would consider as my biggest achievement.
Yeah. I love that. And what would you say to those women listening now that have a dream, but they're too scared to follow it? What would you say to them?
You know what? A few years ago, I heard a sentence, if you have a desire in your heart, it's meant for you. Otherwise, it wouldn't be there in the first place. And I deeply believe that. Because, for example, I've never had a desire to be an astronaut. So I've never looked at the courses or trainings or anything like how to be an astronaut. It's absolutely not on my radar.
No.
But I had a dream that I would be able to work from anywhere in the world. I had a dream to be able to live in a hot country. And that was here. And I could either neglect it, but it was coming out. Yeah. So I do believe that, you know, when you have a desire, just believe this is meant for you, but it will not happen just like that. You need to also take some kind of action. And what I mean by action, you don't necessarily need to know all the 17 steps, how to get there. You just trust and you take the very first step. When you take the very first step, the second one becomes clearer. And as long as you trust and you believe and you are focused on this, what you want, and you deeply, deeply feel that it's already yours, it's by law, it must happen. But you just need to take that leap of faith, as you said earlier, and go for it. Yeah. You don't need to know all the answers now. Just take the first step, and you don't know who you will meet, what kind of situations, circumstances will uncover, or what kind of opportunities will open up for you that you will be able to make your dream come true.
Yeah, and I you know, have had that experience myself. It's like, you know, and I used to think, you know, and there was a lot, I guess I grew up in like around the 90s in Byron Bay, which is a little bit woo-woo and hippie. You know, so there was a lot of that attraction thing going on, but just purely, you know, thinking thoughts and all that sort of stuff, which was very popular there for a while. But at the end of the day, yes, that is important. But if you don't take those little action steps, nothing's going to happen. And it doesn't matter how small the step is, as long as it's like in the direction that you think you want to go. And, Absolutely. You know, and then sometimes we get halfway down and we go, oh, this isn't for me, because we go off in a different direction, but we still had to get to there before we changed.
And that's okay, yes. But if we didn't go this halfway, we wouldn't know, and we may be like, you know, living in regret.
Oh, absolutely. I think that would be my greatest fear in life, is like regretting that I didn't do something. So before we finish, can you just share with the ladies, like, a little bit more about your programs, what you do, how they can get in touch with you, and anything else you'd like to share that might help them?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so as you introduced me like beautifully at the very beginning, I'm a confidence and business success mentor, helping you thrive in online business using the power of your voice and hosting your own events online. I've created my whole business around like webinars and challenges. And I know what you may be thinking, that you hate them. They are difficult. You don't want to talk to people. You are not tech savvy. I know, I've heard it all and I've been there myself. But as I said about the dream, you don't need to know all the 17 steps ahead of you now. You can definitely do them. And if you're a coach or a consultant or service-based entrepreneur and you are selling your programs or your packages, like, I mean, your knowledge and your expertise, I found like, the webinars and online events are the best way to actually spread your message, to increase your visibility, to build your brand, and to actually connect with your ideal people. And when they come to your world and when they like you, when they trust you, when they feel that you have the solution to their problems, they would like to work with you. So, it's all process, and I help female entrepreneurs actually go through this process to connect with the people out there who need your service, your programs, your packages, and how to speak to them in a way that it resonates and it's magnetic and they can become your clients. So, we all want clients at the end of the day, yes, in order for our businesses to thrive, but also to make an impact and to whatever your mission is. I do believe that you would like to do something beautiful for other people, so we can make it together.
Yeah, awesome. So if you've got any questions, we'll put Alex's contacts on the thing. But yeah, it is so important. And I know, for many women in business, that those first steps and that whole technology, setting up webinars and how to do it, and there's so much information, but to have someone like yourself just walk them through in a really gentle, compassionate way, it is so important, because a lot of things that we have to do for our business these days that involve social media, we may not want to do it. We may think that's not my thing. But if you are really passionate about your business, you actually have to make it your thing, because that is how you're going to get clients, because otherwise you're going to be the world's best kept secret. Mm-hmm. And you're not going to be able to help all the people that need your help. So, yeah, absolutely important. So I should mention too, before we go, that Alex and I are both speakers at the Women Thrive Summit, 20th to the 24th of March. I hope, if you haven't registered already, that you get on. I'll put a link in here to get on and register. There's free tickets, or you can upgrade so that you can get replays. You can get one-on-one coaching with some of the speakers, lots of other value, but you can just get a free ticket, and that gives you access to all of the 40 amazing powerhouse women over the 4 days. So make sure you check that out. And we're just going to finish with one last question to Alex. If something seems impossible, how do you handle it?
I don't say to myself it's impossible, because this is even like science, that if you say it's impossible, you just close all the doors. Yeah. If you can ask different questions, like how can I make it possible? How can I make it happen? Then you start opening up these doors and you start getting ideas. So I don't really, even at first when something seems like, oh my God, it's really impossible. No. Come on, I've done many things in my life, and other people done many things in their life that seemed impossible. How can I make it happen? How can I do it? And one more thing, for those who are, if somebody tells you that something is impossible, even your loved one or the person that you really respect. I once read it, and this is the motto of my life as well. If somebody tells you something cannot be done, it doesn't mean it cannot be done. It only means that it cannot be done with that person.
I like that. Nice way to end. So thank you, Alex. Thank you, everyone, for listening. next Monday, all the links will be up it'll be all on podcast as well if you want to go back and listen again. But thank you for listening, and thank you, Alex. It's been absolutely amazing having you on here, and see you all at the summit.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to connecting with you. Thank you.